Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So we've got yet more data import woes. Oops. I lost all my browser tabs. So my computer decided to restart overnight. So I didn't actually see the result of this. I had to run it again, and then I updated data to get the maps updated. And so we just did a bunch of those updates. At some point, we'll actually have to do a real trial on fetching data and doing that instead of using the cache. What was it? Active record import. Also, it was taking a really, really long time, so I went ahead and since I was running into issues anyway, I may have done the encoding issue off stream, and then I was getting, well, I've been building up. Oh no, this is the family trees one. Although I probably should move these here, I have not yet. I've been building up lists of all of the invalid records, so a lot of these have partial rights. Some of them just have like 2 or 3 records all jammed together into one line. So you can see there's a reset here, and then where the parent field should be, there's actually a account hash. So I've been kind of struggling with that stuff. These seem to, I'm guessing it's like an out of disk event. Or it's just unable to write. You'd like skip a couple hundred player IDs that probably never got recorded. The other thing I noticed is that I'm already somewhat significantly over the number of lives reported on the homepage. Well, maybe Jason filtered out like Santan and some other things, even though they're still in the lifelogs. That might be a possibility. Anyway. So this is a thing. It does enough fancy stuff that the code isn't super easy to understand. But the idea is that it builds up larger, more concise statements. So you just give it columns and values, and it can import them very quickly to the point that the name imports are now actually the slowest part. I keep wondering if I should do something about that, but I don't necessarily want to create a record that's only a name record. Wouldn't be useful for points and other things. But anyway. And because I did that, I don't know if I've checkpointed that yet. Okay, that's all test stuff as promoted to the other project. And yes, active record import is not actually checked in yet. So yeah, I wanted to separate births, deaths, and boths so that we didn't end up attempting to update the record with nulls. It's possible I was even doing that before. On fail. So instead of fields merge, we are doing very, very specific record sets, and then doing that with very, very specific column sets for each one. And they allow you to update records, which is particularly useful in the deaths, and I'm not sure about the boths. And then births, we're just going to say, well, it should be the first time we've seen you, so we're just going to ignore the fakes. Assume we didn't get a death only first. I guess I could actually remove the old fields ones from here. Okay, so that's actually not going to be a thing at all. Birth fields, I'm pretty sure we don't need. Death fields, we should no longer need. And is it key fields? We should no longer need. So this is this is a little bit harder to work with because it's all order specific, but it goes really fast, so that's nice. And now we need to look back, get this top of mind again. The other reason I wanted you was because this is the cache. We can look up data. This is server. I know it was server 4. Don't remember which day it was on. And this is actually on the insert that it's failing. So it's just an incomplete multi-byte character. Now before it actually said it was an FF. So the sad thing is I have just removed my incremental mode. Well, I could set the batch size down and like try to catch the error or print it before bailing maybe. But we know it was 2019 February. February 16. Yeah. I mean, it's not huge at that point, but it is still big enough to make that a needle in a haystack. Wait. I don't know if it's the exact line, but I think I saw something. So that's the player hash that got scrambled. And it seems to like this character a lot. I don't know if I find that character, but... So I'm wondering if that is some sort of alternate transcription of a hash? Because like if it used a wider character range, but it's using few enough characters that it almost seems like it's the proper number of characters for that bit, just it's the wrong ones. So how would we... Well, hash is very specific characters. So we would want to validate that it was decodable, and if not, then we just don't have a hash for that person, I guess. Ordering, that's the only one. Well, I guess you need to go into the Hall of Shame. Now the text file. Ooh. And Okay, that's not the last record. Did it? Nope, we didn't save. Yeah. So it did all go into the hash field. We have some idea what those particular characters are. So this was just removing particular characters. Now, as this translate, I could add that list of characters. But this is a particular field, and it is... which restricts what is a valid character in that field. Now, this is a birth, but this would potentially apply to both. Oh, this is a shared bit. We could try to parse it as hexadecimal. That might throw up if it was invalid characters. It's part of it, I just don't like doing lots of extra work. But I guess the loading part isn't too terrible. Does TR take a regex? Well, that's going to be a pretty common substring. Nope, that only did that. Okay, fine. Corresponding characters. I could do ranges of characters. They start with a... to escape. So that reduced that down to a blank hash. We see both letters and numbers in the others. Just trying to get a sense if it... I'm seeing the same start and end here. So I think that's good. It's only the one field, so if that happens to other fields, we'd still have trouble. Okay, well, I got past that line. And now we're into big server times, and we're going to start getting down to smaller servers. So these might actually go in, well, I mean, even like server 5 probably saw a lot of action in the early days. So it might still take a little bit of time here. But that is actually in our other data server. Okay, so that was me messing around with stuff. I could probably just draw that out actually. So actually that includes a bunch of other fixes for the corrupt lines. Let's see, so I already had that one. And an invalid count hash. Now, one thing I probably should do is actually get the samples moved over. Do we even have a test directory? No, they've got other stuff there. Now, do these run here? Ruby. Okay, cool. Corrupt record test cases. I guess this could be considered a little bit of an encoding issue too. But that was just a bungled field, not just a random, rather than a random character. Okay, so the big Steam influx, so that's gonna be doing lots of stuff. Yeah, it's actually the names that are slowing me down now. So that's something I might want to work on. The problem is I might need two paths. So what I've been doing so far is updating the most recent instance of that name. Now I don't, well, the thing I've been hesitant about it's doing the bulk import style is that it could create a record that was in like a server epoch ID name and that's it. But if the IDs were strictly don't go down, indicating a probable epoch reset. In which case I might still need to do this. And if, well, doesn't give me a nice while loop because I need to load one of them. Find the epoch associated with that name. or that ID. Now this is not good at backfilling. So I've had to reprocess these on occasion, and that actually makes me a little bit concerned that we've gone through and... Well, it would have always updated the most recent one, and then it would have come along and rerun the original file to replace it, so that might be okay. But yeah, it's really designed for a moving forward situation. To get it close to right, you'd have to be comparing the name file to the original lifelog file, which is a timestamp. And you could find out the timestamp that that was at and get the epoch from that record. So the optimized version of this is we look up the first ID, we find the epoch of that record, So I guess to work either way, I'm going to have to load everything into an array. Or load all the name logs into an array. And then I process them differently if we've got an epoch reset or not. Because the name logs themselves, well, unless I look for a major discontinuity in the IDs, but that's very fuzzy because names necessarily happen in ID order. So I guess we're making okay progress now. And actually, a lot of these smaller servers aren't going to really matter, but as I have to redo this, it's definitely slowing us down here. It's one of those things that's fast enough, but it still annoys me as I have to test things. So we would want to get a name logs. It does that. And then, well, okay, so part of this is that if for whatever reason you could not find the first name log, that's one of the reasons I need to have this all loaded up, you would need to continue searching until you found one that you could find. Isn't there like the first element that does not take a block though? There's a find index. Does enumerable maybe have a find? Each entry returns the first for which block is not false. It doesn't return a value though. And we still want to stop when we get there. So epoch. So it's going to be something like this. Where server ID, namelog player ID, order epoch descending. Order epoch descending. Pluck epoch. I guess limit 1 does the same thing, doesn't it? So for testing purposes, if this keeps going, or else you're going to have to like manually reset one of the logs to have it run. Or we go back and just call load names in some path. Yeah, so what would that... Okay, so one of the things I discovered is you can actually get a usable console in PowerShell. I still have to use a modifier key. I just keep forgetting which one. Alright, so life.where server ID and player ID, or well, I want to know if this does work. Well, there had to be a player 2 sometime, right? Dot order by epoch desk. Limit 1. First of all, oh, I just did IRB, not Rails console. Which probably means I won't have. Oh, it is the same back buffer. Okay, so that's saying it's epoch 2. Epoch 2. Now, what if we try to find... Oh, we know that there's no player ID 1. Okay, I did limit 1, but I did pluck. Does find work? Nope. Because it's finding a particular record. So that's going to give me an array. Where pluck if epochs I see that one leave epoch nil. Epochs.any epoch equals epochs.first. And we found something else. It should just be nil and continue on. So the other thing we have to test here, that's really saying what we can even do, is if name logs dot player ID is less than our last entry. I know there's first. That's enumerable. Okay, enumerable does not have a last. Array does. Then we can do this, which is going to result in some other code entirely. Else, we need to do namelogs.each. We do it the slow way. All right, now what you do is if we're able to find an epoch. Then we do names equal namelogs.map. So I've heard two philosophies on curly braces versus do end. One is it's based on whether you're going to do it in a one-liner, and there is basically going to do it whether you care about the return value. This should be pretty straightforward either way. So we've got server ID, epoch, namelog.player ID, and namelog.name. And then if we try to do this, this is definitely going to be an update record. Names. Actually, it is going to be key columns, essentially. But this needs to be on duplicate key update. Conflict target key columns equals, how about a symbol there? Shadowing outer variable. That's a single loop. I may have placed this in the wrong spot. This is namelogs.last, namelogs.find. Load names. Oh, right. This assigns it in that context. All right, and we actually finished. Yeah, so this is my question about total number of lives that I'll have to get into later. So to test this now, I'm going to have to go back to, like, I don't know, most recent big server 2. So we're really expecting there to be a duplicate key here. And then maybe I have to clean up ones that didn't have that later. So my import rake originally did have... So this was the most recent the time I started this, which is a while ago now. I get the wrong one. Yeah, kinda. So big server 2 will probably have the most activity. Our most recent name log is June 12th, Wednesday. Wednesday. Oh, now what do you expect as a parameter now? Because I've been redoing some of this stuff. Well, it's a full path. You're not... Oh, wait, are you... No, I'm doing that. If it's successful, I'm doing it up farther ahead as far as what it records. So that should be fine. No such file or directory. Wednesday. Oh, I had a not null constraint. So it did name somebody who did not otherwise exist. That's data quality for you. Lifelog. Well, we know it was a... Okay, so first record. I mean, I could see it not necessarily being in that group. So actually, that was probably a name of someone from a previous day. Need to be able to see this. Not that much. No, you were born. Did our epochs get misassigned? One, 5, 6. 1, 6. Unless I typoed it. And it was correctly named. What? Oh, I copied a line that had the other stuff in it, didn't it? Name logs. No, key columns plus name. Names. What? One five six 1694 17.2. So that got caught by a not null constraint. This is making me wonder what I really want here. Is it PSQL? Oh gosh, what is this database? Okay. These windows are so big. Okay, I guess that never updated my path. Programs. PSQL. Okay, that's that. Unexpected token. Now, you see, this is why I was always nervous about using PowerShell. Maybe it doesn't need to be a string. How much do I have to escape this? Oh, I guess it's still a path, so. Okay, so it wants single quotes. Unexpected token. Okay. I guess that just means run it. All right. Select. Well, initially. From lives, group by server ID, epoch. I don't necessarily want count. Epoch, player ID. Is it possible my constraint got violated? No, we want count star as n and having n greater than 1. Column n does not exist. Okay, so I guess that was a FoxPro thing. So how in Postgres? How would you describe that? Groups where count the count of a field greater than 1. Let all the rows with a name field appeared more than once. Oh, having count greater than 0. Okay, well that I sort of... Right, so then I want to select my data fields. And we just have to, we can't use the alias here. Okay, so we don't have duplicate entries. So everything, well, the way I've been inserting lately, might not have had any risk of doing that. So we've only got one of you. You did get your name applied by the other method. So why... Now, if this was failing on the death updates, I would expect to get a similar... Well, the death updates do apply the account hash, but it still should have had a ID collision. So why are you failing to find? Do I need to actually remove the player or the Rails ID column so it doesn't try to use that? We said conflict target. All right, so we most recently did, like, say, server 5. Or even this day on big server 2 should have been done on this method. So the early records here would have been a death record that did not, that would have had to update a pre-existing record. player ID 1561681 does have a cause of death and an age recorded. So that's working. But as the first record, you couldn't have possibly had a birth record in here. So why is the name lookup bouncing on this? Is it key columns? Is that the one I want? I pretty much copied it from here. Yeah. Did I misallocate these fields? That looks like server ID, epoch, name, or player ID name. So that seems to be fine. So why are we able to update deaths? Maybe the partial record still has to satisfy the constraints before we get to the point of checking if it exists. So count hash is the only null. And we have an explicit list of things that fields we should update. So if we were to do because it's saying conflict target is only these, update only name. Okay, so now the question is, account hash is still good. And we can now we have a nice way to check if we ever did import. Oh, yeah. There were a couple of people that never had their data recorded. Now, I guess This could be people from times of corruption. So that means we have lost all of those names. Well, I mean, we don't have enough information to be useful on these. We can say they existed, but without like a location or an account hash or a parent, I'm not really sure you can use it for anything. I mean, well, it's a measure of the number of lost players. Some of the lost players. But in theory, I'd have to reprocess every single life record to kind of fill in those holes. Well, every single name log. Although this does raise the question of, if I was going to do that, probably account hash should just stay nil and not be a required field. But I have no way to ignore these. Because the account hash is now a poorly formatted value. Well, no. We know no, all of these records are name only. We just don't know if they match yet. So it actually is a database thing to see if they matched. And in theory, if you did that after every import, you would want to cleanse the name-only ones. So I don't think the required field on the hash has ever caused me has ever caught any other errors. So if I were to remove that constraint, then I could have those in there for what purpose? Okay, so 5. And that's just in the partial day from the last day. I mean, no, those people can have never existed? Well, we know they're not in the database. Well, okay, they're going to exist because of the name log. Oops. That's a 3. Eve Jones. Oh! Our tutorial player is still getting written into the name log. I'm curious about that now. If it's tutorial players, then it would be an interesting way to track how many people were doing the tutorial, but that's about it. It was only people who named themselves in the tutorial. So server. Okay, so lifelog has its own file. Does namelog have its own file? Namelog file. Well, who determines whether we write something? Okay, so you open current, you init. Log birth. This has no field for if it is a tutorial player. So log birth, log death, log name. If new object not tutorial, if is tutorial, that looks like a baby. Family name. Lineage Eve ID. Interesting that it sends that to log name. Oh, log player name for curse. Okay, so name log file. Is it like a curse? Player name for curse. Right, because this determines whether you can curse them or not. So does this... I think we found an issue. This will be a code issue. A relatively minor one. Of course, now I'm really curious. About what's going on out here, because every day we get a couple of people born out here, and maybe they saved Eve spawns during tutorial towns. A couple of Eves born out here at that. Wonder if it's Donkey Town people? So we had 5 names and only 3 in like the last couple hours. And only 3 dots recorded. Actually, do we know anything about these people? Because we should have them loaded by now. Life.where... Oh. Birth X. Something like that? Oh, and... Yeah, those are very even births. Oh, man, the times... Well, we can just stack these. But this is a greater than again. How do I do a timestamp in Postgres syntax? No death recorded. There have been tutorial towns. We'd primarily be interested in recent. Oh, birth time stamp descending. There's probably just birth time. Player ID, yeah, 611. No death recorded. Yeah, none of those have deaths recorded. I mean, they look like increasing. Server. Next player is tutorial. Let's log death. Record player lineage. Record lineage. Log death. Log death. Where did I find log birth? Tutorial offset. In tutorial number. So they would have that set, but they would still log birth. New player, pending tutorial load. Maybe if it's a twin, the twin doesn't get properly excluded? If in tutorial number greater than 0. That's pretty much what causes it to... Tutorial didn't happen if not placed. Huh. So the tutorial can just fail sometimes. I mean, it's a map thing. Is that a minor gems thing? Okay, that put something. Where can you you can't return false. More left. Huh. I don't know. But then again, maybe these names are... Well, no, that was more names than there are... Huh. So, I mean, if people are being born out there, maybe the names are... I'd have to reload all names to get an idea of how often it's happening. Well, maybe that is an exercise for later. But we have reason to suspect that that is just tutorial stuff. Let's see. I've found name logs for players with no matching birth. Several of them are Eve Jones. I don't see a tutorial. Check in server name log recording. All right, so for tutorial players who aren't recorded anyway, it's probably reasonable to toss those out. What? But, so that's slightly annoying. Because we have what should be a more efficient process, except at some point we have to go through and clear out all name-only records. And I don't know any way, or rather, I don't know any way except this style of import to do a bulk update operation, unless I dig into this code and try to find a similar way to do it. And I looked at it a little bit, and it was pretty gnarly. text 1 SQL, I guess it's just a gigantic statement. And fortunately, I don't know any way to say. Right, because we determined that it was doing the null field check before it even attempted to do the insert. So all the records have to be valid before we attempt to do that. Don't necessarily want to do a delete every time we do a name log, but life.where I probably don't need to print everything here. Oh, what am I? Oh, our first one. And then that got rid of those extras. Which I guess we'd have to try it out in bulk to see how it felt, but with all our setup, that wasn't too bad. All right, so that is improved your family trees. And then our import task. With all the tests. Probably only need one example path there. These were probably problems, then I started extracting that. Optimized name loading. All right, now I don't know if it will actually import anything without modifying our imported file list. But what we really want to do is to not have to worry about maintaining our file system. Oh, you know what? Subject change. So we're going to come back to attempting to do live fetching after I take a break. I'll be back in a few minutes. Oh. Again? So maybe it's an accident every time my mom is.
why can't you stay alive and all that stuff. And then I got the game myself and I was like, oh, I see. But it was just so unique to me, so different. People compare it to Don't Starve Together, which I've never played. That's the game I've mostly seen it compared. Where'd my steaks go? Why now?
Oh man. Yeah, like just show this giant view here. Oh.
Yeah, these look way more natural instead of just a rotten. I don't even know what to call it. Push it back. All right, duplicate. Let's see if this works. It may not. It's a test. Test. Come on. You're right there.
Welcome back. All right, so right now I've always had this just called test because it's like loading a bunch of cache files. So load cache is going through either finding all lifelogs and loading, actually even load dir, which is actually doing a fair bit right now. We kind of want, let's see, lifelog. We kind of want to be doing some of this stuff. And this means I might want to have an actual instance, because I've been doing class stuff so far. Because they're just kind of functions. That might actually want some context. So I'm not. Let's see, so fetch file is, well, yeah, it's getting contents and it's writing it. So we would want to get the contents. I've been doing a line by line thing. Well, I might be able to get a string reader to still use the get style. I was trying to be all efficient in streaming. Maybe we can get a stream from this. We'll have to see. Then this can hopefully take a string as well, because that's going to get the path list out of there. So we got let's fetch and cache a file. Extract path list. So the server directory is our base URL, which we've been storing as an index. Extract path list. We don't really use the data on that one, I guess. Just local caching if we can. And the server list is a set of paths. And the log paths are also in there. Should I have a separate little helper that just does all the HTTP no Kagiri stuff? Maybe I could even set it up so that that I had a comparable object that understood caches. So given a cache path, it would let me iterate through. So really we just want to iterate through logs. We need, you're doing some path construction. But part of the path construction is, well, so it would get a path, a cache path, and the timestamp. And then this could check it by that. It might make sense to have those iterators be part of this, actually. Because I keep reproducing my cache iterating code. So if we have a lifelog cache and a lifelog server, I mean, a lifelog cache is necessarily going to have a whole lot to do with the fetch. It's going to have to do more with say anything we're using to iterate stuff. And is this just a file cache? I'm not sure you need any of these. Maybe date. Joel. Okay, so part of it is going to be this. For the programs here, because load dir expects the cache path right now. So that would go up into here somewhere and would give you the lives. That's currently consistent with how I'm doing this. I think, well, because you get a path. So you're actually reproducing part of how history works. And loading things differently. Right now, history loader needs the file path. Yeah, so we can iterate servers. And cache path is dir plus. So actually this is history, which is assuming the cache iteration of load directory. So actually that gets taken over from history as well, I think. So we have a method that may be internal. I'm not sure if you have state. I haven't done anything with curses yet. But a file-based system is going to need that cache path. Do we have a... Okay. Something that loads individual files. And I do often streamline things by checking this against the server ID to completely skip the file iteration. That just gives you a path. This would be... So on each path, what we do right now is we call history load dir, which understands that it's dealing with a cache file. It has that complete path. This actually would take over some of that file iteration. But it would need all the filtering options for server and time. Okay, so we go through each cache directory, go through each directory. What I was thinking of is we just get the iteration of, okay, here is a cache file path and a timestamp. You decide what you want to do. Right, so this is where we do def initialize, and you have the cache path. So we can continue calling back in here. Then this becomes an instance. And if we call back into here, for a particular subdir, And then this thing can skip calling that if it wants to. So we have to start thinking about stuff like this. So we got a cache path. For the cache, we do care about the file path. That's going down to all these functions, which are then loading this. So they actually get is, well, now you have the do we want to filter thing before we get to loading contents. So you would actually have to be doing the iteration of just like this kind of stuff. I don't know if we actually need file path. Oh, for a cache file we do. Let's see. Okay, fetch stat is going to be used, itself is going to be used later. So file date. We don't have this. So we just yield cache path, file date. Then we don't have file path. Oh, mtime. Yet. Then you would have to provide contents of a particular log. Isn't there a concept of high-level iterators? Collection. Okay, this is the wrong level of abstraction. It might not be a general enough use case. The mix in by enumerable method to define the each method. Enumerable initialize, add, and each. This isn't even each log. Oh, because I don't have all of the code that I've currently got in well, no. So you do that, load dir. Right, so the actual iteration, Okay, yeah, this is calling into history right now. Yeah, shut up. Unexpected keyword end. Oh, because I copied junk down here. Oh, should I just go ahead and give you server? Of course, then you'd want to get it back, so it's... Maybe we should have a method that can get that from a directory. All right, so you're just doing a full-on load. And I think everything else is going to be super specific. So the cache load version, and this is the issue where I did do custom versions of these. So really, well, yeah, this is where we get our server. We do very specific things here. We actually do use that, but that's specific to the cache version. All right, well, I think we're past the coding corruption issues at this point. So we're doing some abstraction now. So we would have a servers collection. Can I bootstrap that to something else? So if we've got lifelog cache, we would have, oh, this is a, well, that was a class. Or maybe cache is still a thing? So it's a collection of servers. And this is, what does an include or extend? Include. So you'd get this. You'd get this. Then we'd have to be able to propagate the cache information down to others. So is this an enumerable thing that says, give me an iterator? Or you just don't call it with a block? But then if you call this method with a block, oh man, yeah, this is going to be collection.collect. I need to know how to be able to capture the, is it just block? But this does need to do filtering. Was it dir? Really dir for each? So I need you to do that. I need you to do some filtering. Well, if you're an iterator, can you do... Actually, it's select for Ruby, isn't it? And then similarly for you, given, so for just returning the abstract dir, that doesn't really give us any way, well, what if we mapped it to a logs, I guess that would technically be optional. And then your thing is going to be more based on this, which this isn't really even doing an each. This is assuming the history iteration. Which has always been a little bit weird that it was in here. Which also accepts a time range, which wouldn't necessarily work with the other enumerable methods. So that might be a thing, or you would have to... Well, this is filtering paths. All right, and am I using block here? You have to provide an iterator method which does yield. Select map each method in the class. Okay, it's custom if you need to do custom, pretty much. And of course, we're mapping this to an object when we really... Somebody might want to get into the middle of this and filter just on the dir, which means you're going to need to be able to do that. You're going to need like a time filter method. It's kind of just a select, given that you get a path. Oh, I still haven't settled how I might still need to deal with blocks there. That's pure path based. Okay, so that was my other code. For each dir, maybe we just have to leave date filtering out for now. But you have to be... Oh, but what's the dir? Oh, the dir is our local variable. So you don't implicitly do anything. You are just an iterator for this thing right now. Except... cache dir path... cache path... This is my other one. So the thing that calls on this is going to get individual paths. So at that point, is it a log file? Should be making like a log object that has the path and the date. And it's a cache log object. It would know its full path. You could just ask for its contents if you decided to load it. This does not need to be enumerable. It has a path, it has a date. Oh, that's all of that stuff. So, and maybe we should make that private. And And history. All right, so you All right, so we get a server from the path. So from any given path. So that actually would be one way to do it. Allow at any step. So servers, so at this level, oh, you are actually hard matching on this. Although I guess I would just not hard match on the slash necessarily. And then the individual log. Oh, it did say dir, didn't it? Hmm. Maybe that works. All right, cache path as unused. Oh. Takes care of that. File date. And not that file path. I am working this up still. So any of these could either be, well, we pretty much stream all of them. At present. Or, I could actually implement gets on this. But then you have to deal with methods to like reset it and everything. Oh, actually, you can get the file date if you need to. The web one might have to get that from upstream. And actually, you are just going to be there. This is almost more of a private method, but oop. Then you actually, this is cache path, and this is cache. What a tangled web we weave. So that's kind of a lot of work to avoid just doing a bunch of blocks. And I still need to get back date filtering, which was nice as a helper. Because this is a set of logs, but right now it is the ability to iterate over all of them. You might want to do that. Where we do path filtering or path date filtering. Which makes it just not a simple iterator anymore. Or we make that a separate iterator. Because really, I don't want to be loading all this stuff during testing. So it's going to look more like this. Oh, you know what? This is also filtering out junk files. And you would then do the same thing. So in a perfect world, this would operate like a select. But this is an operation on the, well, the log is just a path. But I think you lose the enumerable identity as you start operating on things. It's essentially going to yield a bunch of logs. You could go in and, well, log is just a file path, so we could keep saying, are you within, are you within, are you within? It'll be a little bit farther downstream in the processing pipeline. but a little bit more composable. And time range has a default. So this is going to no doubt be a mess. Then history or something would take over that. So to take an example, so we would open lifelog cache. We would have a lifelog cache right now. Which really even it has a default directory. And it does wait, is lifelog? No, we can pretty much start there. Servers. Or maybe that should be the cache object, and then it has a couple of internal things. And that gives us back, well, this could be a server. But then, like, what is a server.each? So instead of a dir, we get a logs. We've already we have already excluded dir match lifelog. It logs.server equals, it takes over that. So now what does our history load look like? So we've been giving that. So then logs also has an each. Which gives us a series of files. So this might be some sort of cooperation with history, because we want to go through each log file and just translate the entire series into so load dir goes down to here. We get a path. You're doing the filtering based on each one. So load dir has the interior. Well, I mean, I guess that could kind of take over. still has the load in it. So if we did this directly, it would be logs.each do log. You've got a time range. Next, unless log dot within time range. So this is the custom loading, which is kind of a hook into this because it was doing all the directory stuff that we never really... so we could hook directly into... I mean, still want to be reusing some stuff. But this is parsing it into lives. So this would then want to take an open file. So maybe... I mean, both files are going to have the same naming pattern, but... Oh, and actually some of this stuff is going to end up reused as well. Although, I won't normally be applying time filters to the file load. Or to the server load, rather. So load log turns into something else. So that's the logs.each. History had this little bit. You don't have to deal with blocks. So this should be log.path. Which makes me think we should probably just have that be a thing on here. If log dot names so you do your own epoch tracking. Which got replicated in the other code base. Because we had a different iteration pattern. You would have to take a log file. And awkward thing, I call this log. So that probably means this needs to be renamed too, because it's a lifelog. Oh, no, there was logs, and there was... So then these would get a log file. Oh, you're grabbing server, but log file should know it's server, right? And then file is logfile.open. And we assume that that's a streamable thing. And then load names gets a log file. Gets a streamable thing. And I might want a history abstraction for this process as well. But that could be a proof of concept. Now, I might not have anything in the default window here. And the files can be written, so they should think I was, well, I was sorted on date earlier. No such file. Oh. Forgot I had the namespace things. Invalid next. Lifelog cache. Yep. Oh, you're right. This is a... Well... Right, because this used to be skipping. I mean, I could go get the file time here. I may have cut some prints out, or just things didn't iterate, because I didn't do that. Yeah, okay. We have to handle the blocks. Everywhere we define each, we actually have to... Oh. What if there's no block? Well, no, that should just be... Because now I have to capture it. So you're a for each. Well, you're already yielding. And you're only yielding, which means it... are you convertible into a iterator? So which one is it complaining about? No, it's lifelog cache, which we just moved some things around. But it is around 55. Well, now we're not doing anything. On this invalid access is actually having to do stuff. All right, so... what do you become? And what do you do? You don't do anything. Okay. Servers initialize each. Okay, it's got a object directly. Oh, new do. I mean, maybe that will be a handy class method. Cache in lifelog cache. Could possibly be private. Undefined method for nil class. Really? Really? Didn't see a nil there. Undefined method bracket for nil class. Oh, is this? Well, it's lifelog. Oh, but this had the slash on it. So for logs, we do in fact need undefined method path. Oh, you also need Because you're counting on, oh, log file. I can get my date elsewhere. Okay, dir for main object. Okay, this is actually an unleash it live script, so yeah, because I used to be counting on that existing. Oh, so this kind of ended up above where that used to be. No, this is after loading. So this would just be logs.server. Okay, now I might not have found anything there. I don't remember if I had anything. Okay, so that's still every single path. Which is probably, oh, this is like the entire logs object. And it's still every single path, so that might be lifelog cache. Right. Because we were trying to debug this stuff. Nope. And then you initialize and cache path. We're still printing twice. And this might just be, oh, nope. Found our 3 people. And I did not write anything, apparently. This was sorted by file update date. Lives.length. No, yeah, big server. So something printed out. Lives.select. So I printed out when we found that, but this is not generous enough to find the last time I played. So Wednesday, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, might have to be around there. Got a few extras. And that looks like it actually attempted to write out. Yeah, okay. Now, in theory, every other script needs to be updated for this. And this is still something that could perhaps be optimized. The each server bit. I mean, sometimes you want to look at one server, sometimes you want to write stuff out on a per server basis. So maybe that still makes sense. Loader becomes something more like Load server. All right, so we've got logs, logs.each, next and last in range. Block given is mainly for things that want to call other methods here, but this is a small enough loop now that it's not such a big deal to duplicate it. Data server. Undefined method load server. Have I? Oh, no. Okay, so that seems reasonable. Unfortunately, that is sort of a breaking API change, so all of the stuff, all my little scripts that do this stuff now need to be updated. Yeah, I might have to cut off some of these old test files. They're not really stuff I'm using anymore. All right. So we need a new file. Actually, no, actually, your specific server. Ooh. How does that work? That means we need to select the lifelog, logs.new dir cache. So this would be lifelog cache, logs.new. And for this, we assume the default. And then that's load live. So most everything in these was picking up at this point. So calling that a server does start to make a little bit more sense. All right. Finder. Oh, is this a server-specific thing? Oh, this is a server-specific thing. All right, so then, there are only a certain number of use cases here. Yeah, dir for each. Next unless. Do you do server? You don't. Lives.load server. Logs. You do have dir. All right, and these I might just have to let go. Just because they're becoming a bit of a maintenance problem. Your specific case. Export is still a possibly useful example. And load server logs. Server equals logs.server. Lives points. Okay, so this may have actually been lives export. Import log file. Log file. Yeah, so this was actually the system troubles I had earlier. Oh, I didn't abort this? Shoot, I didn't see what it was. I don't know what I did. Okay. Oh, no, wait, I finished lives export. It was lives points that must have been open. When the system, well, either when the computer reset overnight, so I didn't get to see my final results of the initial import, which pretty much is the same one I reran, or when my desktop crashed and I had to restart, so there wasn't processes lying around. Okay, so you have been doing a particular thing. Logs.server, you should actually be able to say equals the way I've been using this. We'll just have to recreate that if we need it. Server equals logs.server. Load all. Load server logs.server. Monument points we're using. And sometime I want to rewrite this whole. Oh, yeah, this is very different, and I might have to redo that. Oh, because I am going to want to process monuments on the server at some point. So that doesn't have to change now. We did that one, we did that one. Scene tiles, we still haven't fully done. Well, maybe this is something I want to process here, I'm not sure. Zoom levels.each, dir.forEach. Okay, so this is going to have to change if we go back. That's taken care of. Server equals logs.server. Ooh. That's assuming a cache. So we don't have a count. Load dir. And this is all overriding stuff. Now this is not a path. This is a log file. Log file.names. There's the dir. Oh, so this is just, but I called it log file. Is that reused? No, okay. So then this can just be log file.open. There's stuff I'm going to have to clean up if I have to hack it again. I don't think the test program, what does the dir.forEach? But this... This is a different test. This looks an awful lot like load all. And yesterday's, I sure haven't used in a while. You go through there, you go through time, you go through every server. Oh, this was like every player on every server, or every line on every server yesterday, which would kind of be a long-term project if I could just output everything. I'm really not using that. All right. So now you. Currently using cache. So your load cache well, does everything from the perspective of this process. So it does have to be a relative path here. Or it needs to be past a relative path. That's taken care of. And then you have a load dir, which is really a load server again. And you were passing up to this to do the load each. You were getting the cache path, which should now be built in to the logs. So what history was doing is just logs.each. And log file. Oh, similarly, that has to be fully qualified. So now we should be able to get more of these paths from other things. So what we needed to do here is we needed to do lifelog file. Did I already do some stuff here? Oh no, lifelog file is this thing from my database lookup. So our file date is just log file dot date, I think. Fetch that lifelog. We need the cache path, which is just log file dot path. Now this is path, but this now we have log file dot names, cache path fetch stat. All right, so now these can go more like history. Log file server load log. Okay, so you're actually doing all your heavy lifting there. Through history. Server log file dot server. Now this is directly opening, so this is log file dot open. Also makes me wonder if I should have separate file objects for each type. And then from there, oh, you still take this cache path. Yeah, no, you've got a log file. So it is going to iterate through everything. And check all of the file dates to see if they're imported. So that gets us most of the way to testing it. So logs are going up to history. Names should be pretty good. And then we have to test our abstraction against a different implementation. I could take a run at that. So let's just get all this stuff checkpointed. I'm going to have to change a lot of things, but hopefully it won't be a total route. Can I? No, I didn't want to do that. That did get me all the deleted files. Get resets. I can probably just pick out the ones I didn't want. Which I should probably clean those up sometime, but get reset. That was a local file. Actually, find or follow. And okay, so we got our new file. We had those. Yep. Yeah, the alternate version of this could be interesting. All right, get status, get diff. All right, so this is going to be developed in you. So this might be a wide mode situation. So we have fetch that does this stuff. We have lifelog cache. Lifelog server. Of course, now we have servers names getting messed up, but So you are going to have a base URL, which is probably going to have a default value. Of base URL. But now we have to track this through everything. I'm probably fine because each server is going to end up wanting a new a new HTTP instance. And I still have to figure out at what level I end up doing these reads. All right, so the iterator here is that you fetch. Oh, there's still monuments, yeah. The server directory and fetch file is handling all the caching. And you are writing to a cache. Okay, so for the indexes, getting the whole contents is fine. Might have to worry about caching HTTP client later. Be more important if we were configuring it. Get content. So base is probably base URL. Right, because sometimes it's, oh, nope, it's path. Monuments URL. Okay, so I was abstracting some things there. Get content. Base URL. I mean, it isn't necessarily a file join. Plus, this is a generic fetch file. Actually, no, this is just base URL. This gets the index. Which we used to call server directory. And then the server list. So extract path list is going to be a very generic thing in this module. So you assume oh, no, is it directory as an index? What are we returning? Are we returning contents or returning the cache path? We're returning contents. So no Kagiri is actually fine. And this we could probably just have as some sort of utility function. Well, it should probably be at least moduled for namespacing. And then you need and what do we need file util for? Make_dir p is for making the cache as. All right. Index. Yes, I may have to do some filtering on the files here. Although I guess extract path list is already. Interesting. So you are collecting paths and dates. So your logs. Right, at this level, we pretty much have to look at all of them. Doing it this way. But my extract path list. Currently returns paths and dates. Of which this I might only care about the first. So fetch file. This is actually a server list at this point. Fetch file, because that was caching. But that does give us the list. So that might be when we pick up here. This is a kind of directory and a base URL. Oh, logs do not need a date. The individual files, I think, do. So this is not a server list now. This is... Then do that. Okay, clear that error. So the logs in this one, you need to fetch your index. That should still work. And this is going to look a little bit like this, perhaps. So we're going to care about dates now. But it's not get contents base URL. It's base URL plus dir. And then we're saving it as that. And we care about that date for just for efficiency. I'm going to have to do something to limit the amount of fetches we do while testing, I think. I guess the first thing will be just to fetch the indexes. So then log paths are extract the path list. You are not going to map first. This is like log path. Path log path. And log date. So now you are going to be, so for the cache, we could just join these. You have your own dir plus log path. You have a log date, which we can't just fetch easily here. And to actually fetch the file, we are going to need the base URL. Do we need to care about this? Oh, and this one just always yielded. It didn't do iterable. Maybe we should fix that at some point. So can we do that? We still do our path check. Dir path is... It's more of a URL join, so I'm not sure I trust that if it's doing system-specific stuff. Oh, so it's kind of a mix of these things. So extract path. And then we don't really use that. And then log file, log paths, fetch file. So this is where we have to do, so the first step here, I probably don't even have checking for this. So we don't want to fetch every file. Fetching the directories shouldn't be too bad. Equals this URL. File path. This would be more like URL. Prox log time, path.match, path.match. Time range cover, prox log time. Date is adder accessor. Server is a match on the path. Name is a match on the path. So this is where we just probably punt for now. Now, where do we want to intercept this? So this will actually just blow up if we try it. Well, actually, no, I could potentially try this in the stuff's not going to have to worry about a database getting updated because it's still in that project. And it'll just blow up right now. What I do want to do, what I probably want is HTTP client. Well, this is just a where do we put base URL? We put it with the U. Although actually, we're kind of reusing this in other things. And it's just a constant. It can actually be an object. Arguably, that should be parameterizable, but that means we'll only have to instantiate it once. And we're going to reuse that again later. Oh, actually, there's an interesting question. Can HTTP client get initialized with the base URL? Because then I could pass that around instead of the URL. Oh, gosh. I actually have to restart the browser to get it to reset the colors. Okay, so you can give it a base URL. Oh, no, it's a proxy. Is that a post? Args. Proxy from... Yeah, maybe there's a way to set the base URL. Base URL of resources. Base URL, oh shoot, is that a... I think that's an instance method. So potentially instead of base URL, well that's, but that's a thing you can easily pass through. And I'm down to all individual life logs. They would then have to create their own clients. Well, all right, we'll just have to leave that for now. Base URL. Yes, and... So you're not going to get very far. Lifelog server. We want to know what we got here. And I did embed that loop. So that was small disadvantage there. We could also debug it on this side. Or print it on this side. We're looking for all of our web requests. So I was wondering if I should actually just have like a fetch method, so I can intercept everything. Okay, we got something. It was nice when you wrote it out to a file and you could look at it better. Okay, so there's the base URL index, curse log, blah, 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 life log. We have last updated times, undefined method for nil class, 56. It seems like we should have gotten to another file first. Nil. So maybe my map first didn't work here. Or my extract path list. Tap. Okay. Lifelog date, lifelog date, lifelog date. I should have done this after, I guess. That's what we're getting. Log file, log file, log file. Oh? Unless it's one item that... No, that taps the entire thing. It's not an iteration of it, so it's an array of strings. We get that and the URL passed to all of our objects. And then we come down here and dir is nil. Oh, it didn't match. Oh? Oh, you are getting a trailing slash. It's when, nil nil class. Okay. That's curious. Output. And in theory, more of these, but... Oh, would that even work? Okay, kinda. Match groups. Oh. Oh, okay. Oh, but that might mean... maybe I was fetching different servers at different places, and that wasn't always the right thing to do. But that seems to be matching fine. Okay. I guess it really is... nil. Logs, dir... Okay, so we've not pre-filtered the curse logs. So Logs.new, logs.server. So the thing that I'm doing here, or whatever loop is log.new. So whatever loop I'm doing is not filtering curse logs anymore. And we'll have to solve that when we circle back to actually deal with curse logs. Map first. So we're still looking at our files. That should be fine. I guess I do sort of like that blowing up. I'm doing something silly. Cache path. You would be base URL. It's not really cache path anymore. Catch. Right, I didn't save you. Private method gets called for nil class. Interesting that it's a private method. That must be getting to kernel stand-in gets. All right, so that gives us individual lifelogs with their updated dates. So we've gotten down to that point. We got down to file open, and there's nothing there. So I'd like to get this to the point where it attempts to do something. Oh, and right now we're going back like 3 days, but So here is where we need does a string support gets? It would, if it had. No, it's comparable. So do we have some sort of enumerable? No, we want file, which is a parent of IO. Or has a member of IO. Class module index. Is there a type of IO? No, this is a module, right? IO class. A plain string file name can create an IO or file object from these types of arguments. Oh, no, HTTP client, can it give me a IO stream? So what is the response to a get? You know what, let's see if, without having to relaunch everything, if something else can handle this a little bit better. Okay, so Chrome is not quite as hyperactive about the color scheme. How to retrieve web sources. Get.body, get content. Oh. Return a string. Follow redirect. Get content as chunks. Well, I don't necessarily want chunks. I do want strings. Turns a content string. HTTP message. Oh, is HTTP message the base class thing? So this might actually be standlib. Huh. HTTP gem. Then discussion. Response handling? That's an HTTP response. Well, it is body. Read partial. Stream it in chunks. NuGet. Okay, that's the wrong HTTP client. Class HTTP client. All right, so back to the original problem of that's probably referencing a string only for strings. Yeah, that's the wrong thing. So actually, this is really it's a package. Oh no, it's a standlib. Gem string. Oh, but it's a gemified standlib apparently. Bin setup. Oh, development. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I would make this, like, do a chunked read. So we're just going to have to read entire files. So actually going to end up, so both projects are going to need this essentially. Gem spec. Using. Installing string IO. Native extensions, geez. All right. Client. So this is going to be base URL plus path. And it is in fact get content. And then example? No, okay, so this is like the actual lib of the test. Stringio.new. I mean, would be my first guess. And that is string, capital IO. There's a file handle. Oh, do I need to deal with external encodings here? That could make things... I originally just fetched the... That would be external encoding. Assert string, stringio.new foo get 0. Test write encoding, string.force encoding, stringio.new s, f.print, coding, s.encoding, the original encoding over ASCII 8-bit. The string IO encoding is still that. Test set encoding. Okay, the file can set the encoding. Bug equals. String IO, set encoding, ASCII 8-bit, external encoding essentially. Then we write blah, blah, blah. Then we make a new string with a different character and a different encoding and assert nothing raised compatibility error. F.write s. F.string encoding. ASCII 8-bit, f.string. It was originally 8-bit. We wrote Windows. It stays 8-bit. Different bug. So it looks like we can make an object, set its encoding, Yeah, we might just have to do some load all trials here on this. Well, oh shoot. This is all web requests. Well, what I could do for this... Not entirely sure what the encodings of the stuff we're getting is. Fortunately, this is a bunch of web requests. I guess I could set up my own cache, but the server could be configured differently. And that's very printy. Oh shoot, I was searching on all servers. We should probably... Next, unless server equals big server 2. Got that down a little bit, but it seems like things may have been working there. So at least on the content side. We are... Okay. Oh, this is, I probably should just make this match. Because it might be a full path. Okay, we cut down our range, so I don't have any data there, but we're fetching a bunch of stuff. We parsed some lives out of it. So then the real test is going to essentially, well... So we can take that. Import. And really, you're going to be server most of the time. Lifelog server. And we were just... You had to have a cache passed to you. This should probably be... base URL... logs.server, load logs. Import rake. So this is the test. It should normally be an update. Don't need a cache. Not a greatest name. Load cat, yeah. Arguably, there's a case for that. I'm going to leave it out for now. That's the other one. So import. So we expect this to do nothing right now because all of our file dates are there. And to only fetch the index files. Wrong number of arguments. Given 0, expected 1. Import 21. Oh! Oh. Load cache. Naming is hard. Okay, lifelog server, index, index, index. These are all largish. And it saw nothing to do. So now if we go lifelog file, trees, cache. Actually, we should probably do a small server. Path. Oh, this is going to be. That's where it gets annoying. Nope. The other console works that way. Okay, so it doesn't quite handle that so well. But it got me all the annoying stuff. Oop. Okay. Oh, no, I'm completely borked. Oh, maybe it was the parenthesis. Okay, so that won't work. But, oh. Okay, so that has a fetched at. Well, this is a where. What I really want to do is a find. So we've got a record. Oops. See dot. Find by. Okay. Cool. So that's our incremental update, and I'll have to test it more thoroughly tomorrow when there's actual new files. And do we have any changes to our other project as well? Oh, yeah. Oh, right, whole new module. Gem spec. My recent lives would not want to do that under normal circumstances. And normally I will be interested in anything if I happen to wander off somewhere else. String IO. We cut this down. Well, normally it would be something more like this. Direct fetch logs from server. And you also have the indirect dependency. All right, so we've got a full load. We've got the ability to update stuff. I don't really like doing it. But I'll be testing that locally, and then in theory, with a little bit more, maybe a little bit more polish, I have to think about how I want to do my longer term output formats and stuff. I can have something on a server that will update itself every day on a daily task and just be able to return points, and then maybe build out a little bit more useful searching on top of that. So that is it for now. I got a little bit of frustration and some big abstractions. We got some stuff done. Thanks to everybody who hung out and watched, and everybody who hosted me. We have, okay, out of that. And this is about when I tend to be on. I'm planning to be back for some Factorio later. Not terribly long, because I got a thing tonight. I should double check when that starts. How about looks like Tinta is doing some C++ analysis configuration setup stuff. So he worked on the OBS audio control, and he's been doing a lot of hardware design and building his own libraries. Seems to be a very bootstrappy kind of person. But yeah, if everyone's someplace cool to hang out, that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye and until next time.